Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com. You're listening to Mornings at Lone Star here at Lone Star Community Radio, live on our YouTube channel and also irlonestar.com worldwide and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. It's me, Dick, hanging out in the studio. You're hearing my voice because we got a special guest. We have another armored warrior coming through Conroe right now. So I'm really excited about this interview. We have Spencer and MC. We're going to be talking about Armored MMA. So if you guys, if you listened to the morning show before a while back, the Medieval Combat Sports, but Medieval Combat Sports actually hosted something here at the Lone Star Convention Center for, I believe it was the United States qualifiers. And then coming in August, they're going to have the Worlds here at the Lone Star Convention Center. Or no, I think it's at the Montgomery County Fair area. And so that's a huge deal. People from around the world are coming to Conroe. And in the studio, we have Spencer and MC. What's going on, guys?
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, and just to let people know, Spencer flew in just for this interview.
Yeah, I sure did.
That's what I was told. And
I mean, for the morning, that's definitely the truth. That's definitely the truth.
And today we're going to focus on an event that's happening tomorrow in Houston. It is the cage fighting version of Armored Combat Sports. It's called Armored MMA. So it's kind of in the same realm, but different sport entirely. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of strange. Yeah. So it's kind of like the way I look at it is people play 11-on-11 soccer, and then people also play futsal. But it's the same concept, but it's a smaller little fighting area.
That's a really great way to.
And I want to let the listeners know I put links below for getting tickets, and also if you want to learn more about the MMA cage fighting and overall the medieval combat sports, because it is a real thing and it is a real sport. It's kind of fascinating to me because this is one of those sports that I go, who the hell wants to do this? Because it's kind of like the skydivers, and the rock climbers and the free climbers, or whatever they're called. What are they called? Solo climbers.
Solo climbers, like the base jumpers.
Like, well, they don't. They climb without anything.
And
I'm just like, what kind of person does this? And you swing heavy weapons at people's faces, and you get hit too. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, who does this? So Spencer does this, which I love. MC, do you do this?
No,
not
yet.
Not yet? Okay. Sorry, I got to fix some mic stuff.
No, you're fine.
It's a one-man show over here. But yeah, again, for the audience, I put some links below. And so when we're talking, people can see, because you have to see it to believe it, to be honest. And I watched one cage fighting match online, and it's chaotic. But yet there's like any type of MMA, mm-hmm. There is some skill to it.
Very much so. I mean, you have your tactics, things you do. It depends on your rule set. If you're using axes compared to shield and sword.
So so one thing that was interesting when I'm learning about the sport, there is some what do you want to call it, like guidelines to the instruments you use in the cage, or in the, what do they call the ring?
The ring, or a list. They call it a list field. It comes like from Old English times.
They always try to tie that stuff in.
They do.
Which is great.
I mean, sometimes they need to, for like the not-for-profits. They you have to talk about historical things, otherwise we won't give you money. So.
Well, no, I mean, realistically, this is kind of a fun thing, because it is, you have to kind of base it off old stuff, because no one really uses axes anymore besides for chopping trees down. But it's like, well, how do we design an axe for combat? Exactly. We haven't designed a new axe in, I don't know, 600 years.
Yeah, an axe is an axe. So, is an axe.
Yeah. But you guys use swords, but everything has everything's blunt. I do know that. So there isn't anything sharp, and everything gets inspected. This is a legit, I would say, a sport where they oversee the safety. It is something very, very looked after.
Very much so, because you can't just run in there with I got a sledgehammer. Yeah. That will actually kill people. Yeah, math and physics works.
Yeah, that's one thing I always. Well, you watch the medieval combat sport version when it's like 10 versus 10.
Oh, those
those I always love, because it's just when you review the tape, you're like, hey Johnny, what were you doing over there? Like,
he's like, well, see, what happened was I was looking at this one guy, and then he said something, and I moved towards him. I didn't mean to at that point.
Yeah.
Then someone came and sideswiped me, and then it was chaos.
And then I woke up with like a bruised rib somehow. I don't know. No, it's so funny. Legit. But so the one thing I like about the Armored MMA, it's a lot faster.
Yes.
Because it is just one-on-one, and y'all are in full armor.
Yep, anywhere from 40 to around 80 pounds, 90 pounds of armor.
Yeah, because and they'll do weight classes, and so that's fair. Because I look at you, Spencer, I'm like, I can't fight that guy.
You could, but with a gun, but not with weapons right now. But yeah.
But no, I think it's one of those fun things. And one thing that answered me this about the MMA cage fighting, there's rounds, but you start with weapons. But if you lose your weapon, you can still grab, right? Because when you say MMA, that's mixed martial arts.
Correct.
So there's
different techniques than just sword play or axe play. So in our rule set, if you drop your sword, that's a disarm, so you lose points for that.
Ooh.
They'll stop it, and then you'll get to pick it up again.
Okay.
But there is a point, if you put 3 points of contact, like you kneel, like a lunge, then you can drop your sword if you want to, or axe, and you can just go hands with it for 15 seconds.
But they also do have no weapon. Right?
Yeah, so
I've
this
seen
one for
that.
MMA, this one they always have to have some kind of weapon in your hand.
Yeah.
But there are other formats like in the Armor League in New York City.
Yeah.
They sometimes like, you want to use 2 bucklers or 2 shields? Come on in. You want to drop stuff in just fisticuffs? You can.
Yeah, because I do want to let folks know, if you are outside of Montgomery County, I think Texas is like one of the biggest population for armored combat sports.
Yeah, we have the Dallas Warlords, which has been really progenitor of just getting the sport as a whole.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the things outside of MMA, and we still have people fight in MMA from Warlords, it's that like Olympic level sword fighting where they've been on teams for Team USA. They've fought people in the world. They've come back world champions. Dallas or just Texas in
Texas,
general.
yeah, because I know there's a lot of, I forgot what they don't call them legions, but it's like, to me, it's just a club.
Yeah,
or
it's
a team.
different clubs, teams.
Gyms, yeah. It's hard because you can't be like, oh, it's a dojo. No,
I mean, essentially, some people I'm in Nashville, Tennessee now, and I work for Nashville Armored Combat, or the AMMA, kind of like their feeder school, and I'm one of the head trainers there. So some people look like, oh, I just wanted to come to the dojo, and I'm like, okay. I mean, with a name like Simply Samurai, I respect that.
Yeah,
it's really like just a gym.
That's one thing, y'all. It's hard to describe to people what it is because anyone can join for fun, but there's a competitive level, and then I would say there's like an amateur level, and then there's just a recreational level 100%. Almost. Because I think the local guys here, when I was talking to him, this guy has I don't know how many acres. He's like, if you just want to come swing an axe on some tires. Yeah, come on out, and then if you want to learn be trained fighters with combat weapons, come on, and it's not like a militia, guys. This is
no.
Well, that's why because when he's described to me, it's like I go, you realize you just said come out to this random field and train to fight with a sword.
Swords. Yeah,
what's going on? And
is there dudes who have to drink some Kool-Aid? Yeah. What's going on?
Is there a flag that we have to
exactly? This is now your house.
We have to get branded.
Yeah. Is this Game of Thrones? Are we going to fight dragons? But it's that literally you have a place where you can actually come and hit tires, and we use tires because they don't get destroyed by the metal weapons.
Yeah. Oh no, he showed me pictures. I was like, that looks kind of fun.
Oh yeah, and it's so much fun. And use one of the biggest disservices in my martial arts career, because I've been doing martial arts since I was 8 years old.
Oh, cool.
And started off with Shonin-ryu, karate, and then I started doing Hung Gar Kung Fu. And when I was over in the United States or overseas in Germany, that's when I first started doing sword play. When I was 18 years old, my friends were like, "Hey, you want to come to a castle and learn German sword play in a castle?" I was like, "Yeah,
that sounds awesome."
But when I started getting into Muay Thai and other things, I had some teachers that'd be like, well, if you don't want to learn how to get in a cage and fight somebody, then I don't know why you want to even learn. I'm like, that's the biggest disservice because it's about fitness. It's fun.
Yeah.
You want to just swing a sword at a tire and be you versus yourself, so be it. Now, if you eventually want to learn how to fight someone else in the cage where they're trying to fight you too, that's awesome.
That's the next level right there.
Yeah, and it's just that whole no regrets in life. I'm turning 39 this year. I'm going to try to still be competitive.
Me too. Happy birthday.
Rock on. Right back at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, June 8th. So actually.
Oh, June 5th over here.
What?
Look at that.
Let's go. That's
I like
close.
that.
See, I knew I liked you.
I like that.
But one of our other big fights for MMA, it's going to be in Canton, Ohio at the Hall of Fame Village or Sports Village. It's not the Football Hall of Fame, but the Sports Village. and I'm actually going to be fighting this legend of a man from Poland named
great.
Bohumil, who hasn't lost a fight in the last 2 years.
He even has a cool name.
He has a super cool name.
Yeah.
And he's amazing, so I get a chance to throw down with him, and I'm going to do my best. But at that point, I actually put him in the universe. I was like, I never got a chance to fight him. He's one of the best one-on-one fighters. I'm more of a duelist, like I said, with Longsword Champion, where that's more boxing opposed to the MMA. But I live in that life where put up or shut up. And I want to try it. And I think I'm okay.
Well, I think like if people are listening, they want to get into it.
Yeah.
Like it is one of those things you just got to do it.
You do.
You just got to like just contact your local dojo, or I'm gonna call it a Legion.
Legion. I like Legion.
Legion sounds really cool.
I think it's cool. That's legit.
But yeah, contact your local Legion. And actually, if you just look up Armored MMA Gym, I know there's one in Houston.
Yes, Houston. We have the San Jacinto Knights.
Yeah, those dudes are interesting.
Oh, they're amazing. Like Taylor Jones, who's the reigning champion. So we talk about weight classes. When you win, you become the king or queen.
Yeah,
at that point.
He has a crown.
Yeah, he's fighting this one. He's not defending his title yet. So they have some exhibitions because there's not a big enough pool of people that fight at this level. So people be like, why is the champ fighting somebody? And if they lose, why won't they give up their crown? I'm like, because that's not how it is. But he earned his crown by doing 5 2-minute rounds in full armor, just going at it. He bested, I think it was either Anthony Pinedo or I forgot the individual, or it might have been another guy from Poland, Andrew Stanecki. I think it was Stanecki he fought, and it was an amazing.
That's not a cool name.
Yeah, it's not as cool, but Stanecki, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's running Historicum, doing all the weapons. But anyway, so he was actually also a world champion in the Olympic level thing, Taylor Jones. So he's just a boss. He's been working really hard.
He's a really nice guy. I interviewed him, I want to say almost a year ago.
Oh, rock on.
Maybe not a year ago. But one thing actually I wanted to ask you, because I watched some of the MMA versions, and I don't think there's a lot of KOs.
No,
it's more point system, right? Like that, because you do have weapons, and that's how the point system kind of like it relies on the weapon.
Yes.
But there's also negative points for, like you said, disarm or, but I was like,
junk.
Yeah. But I was like, there's probably never really any knockouts because you have this full body armor. There might be tap outs.
There's tap outs. Like, so we have no submission right now. That's where we're working on some points because it's hard to see people in the armor. That's why we do the whole 15-second rule for professionals, and it's 10 seconds for the exhibitionists. Because when you get knocked down and you look, and sometimes you just get pinned, you can't fight back, and it's almost impossible to shrimp out and try to reverse things. It happens, but it's really hard.
Oh, yeah.
But there are some takedowns when, like my sensei once said, hit somebody with the hardest thing that you can, and that's the earth. So when you throw somebody into the ground really hard, sometimes you TKO them. My friend Pete Moe, who I just fought recently, and I made sure he didn't catch me because he weighed 320 pounds out of armor.
Yeah.
And I was running around the gym doing boxing, just staying out of there, sword fighting. But he threw a guy down, and it knocked his helmet off, and he was just TKO'd. He was like, he was done.
Yeah.
So they happen. They're few and far between.
Well, because I was thinking as the audience member, because I like MMA. I like watching MMA. And the one thing I like about watching it is people getting knocked out. And I know that sounds barbaric, but who cares? Bring it on.
That's what you're there for. Gladiator.
But see, the great thing about the Armored MMA, to balance that want from the audience, instead of just knocking someone, you have a sword.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is cool. This is cool. We're already to that level of like, all right, I'm down.
Exactly.
But then the point system, that's one of those things where if you don't know the sport, you're not really understanding.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that's going to be interesting to try to tell people, like, hey, if they drop the sword or they get disarmed, they get a point. Mm-hmm. Now, when you go to these events, is there a scoreboard?
There's not a scoreboard as much, and we're trying to work on the production quality. Each thing that we're doing, we're gaming the system or we're leveling up as it goes. Because Mickey, Kelsey, and all the other members of the AMA group, they are just working this out as we come along, dealing with all these things at once, trying to build stuff. And now we're starting to have after interviews with the winners, sometimes even the losers. But before it starts, we have a whole, like, this is AMMA. Like, a headshot is 2 points, body is this one. But people sometimes don't hear it. And we need to put some, like, either words. There's just changes.
I'm not. I was just curious because it's like, once you know the rules, you kind of get it. You get the gist of it. But it's also chaos.
It's very much so chaos.
You're like, all right, they're just hitting. How long do they just keep hitting each other? Okay, we're just going to keep hitting each other.
Yeah, like 2-minute rounds. And actually learning, like, Mario, he does, like, head kicks in armor. He kicked a guy in the head, but of course they're armored, so it's not crazy, but it looked really cool.
Yeah.
I try to throw a
surprise dagger.
No. I know, you're like, surprise. Like, oh, no. But once people start seeing the rules more and they start
Yeah.
finding more people that they like to train with, or we get more influencers like MC, where they're like, this is what I like about it, this is what I'm doing. I'm not fighting it, but I really like seeing Spencer fight, and I want to see him fight someone else, or I like seeing Taylor Jones. That's when we start building that brand.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, me, myself, I made a little device, like, I have a little panther with like my little device on it. This is my shield, so when I'm fighting, these are my colors I wear.
Oh, okay, so yeah.
I'm gonna give you some stickers too later.
Yeah, that's one thing I do want to touch on is everyone who I met does this is a character.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
It is hilarious to me. And
we
so
are
when
cartoons.
and I know because like this weekend, let's remind folks, this weekend you're fighting in Houston. I want to say it's Southwest Houston.
It's the
Arena Theater.
Arena Theater. I think
Arena-
Arena Theater.
Is that in Sugarland? I don't know. But we put a link to tickets, and
Yeah.
you can come watch the event. It's on Saturday. It's tomorrow.
Yeah, so 30 minutes away from Conroe.
But what I really want to do is in August you'll have the Worlds.
Yeah,
That's when I want to be like, let's just pretend I'm from another world.
I think that's
And
cool.
everyone has different accents because everyone's coming from.
I mean, they will be.
I know. It's
we
what I'm
have
saying.
20 different countries.
It's gonna feel. You're gonna be like, did I just step through a time portal? And everyone's. That'd be so cool.
No, it'd be
Show up
wild.
suited up too.
Definitely, like you can come. Like that's the part where you can mix this Ren Fair. AMMA tries to keep it more into the professional. Like we were trying to prove that we're UFC level.
Yeah.
we want that part. But
Well,
then
that's
it's
what's-
fun on the world side where people come and Ren Fair stuff. People
Yeah.
are like, I just want to be a part of this.
Well, because
That's cool.
like I said, when I watched the MMA version, it really is a concentrated fight, and you're like, all right, we're just doing this for the next 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and then the next fight's gonna start in 5.
Yeah.
But like when you go to the combat sport version, there's a lot going on because
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
they have so many people, and it's just, hey, we can't just do one fight at a time, guys. We gotta set
it's
this
a
up.
tournament. It's a tournament of people coming from all over the world.
So-
and we have winners, losers, and especially when you have the 5-on-5s or the 10-on-10s, or I've been a part of 16-on-16s.
Yeah.
At a world championship level, I actually broke my toe because I wasn't wearing the Sabotons or the metal shoes because I'm an idiot. But I wear them now.
Well, you learn.
I
You
did.
learn.
And it
You
didn't
learn.
move my stability that much, but it's a lesson.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. It's like that was one thing that's interesting talking to the other, I would say, athletes. I want to call them
they're
athletes. And what I love is their learning process of the armor
Yes.
because everyone has to have their own armor made for them, or
Mm-hmm.
eventually if you're trying to get competitive, and you'll learn what moves right, what doesn't move right, and
Yep.
yeah, and
It's like a
one of
real
those-
life video game at that point. I'm a big nerd, so
me
video
too,
game,
dude.
D&D, everything else.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you're literally leveling
hey,
up.
have you played Oblivion, the remaster
I have
yet?
not had a chance to, but I've been watching, and I'm like, I need free time to play, please.
Yeah.
So
That's
been busy.
beautiful. It's a beautiful game.
Yeah.
But
But all weapons are made differently. Like they all feel. Oops.
Hey,
they
yeah.
all feel differently. And then some of the weights
Well,
are not created equal, and they will break. Like they have durability to it since it's metal. You hit a person often enough, they'll fatigue, and then they'll
Oh, yeah,
shatter. And then you're like,
100%.
I like that sword, and that's sad.
That's
so you have to
sad.
get a new one. But yeah.
Weapons and the armor. The video of
Oh,
Sneak
yeah.
Doll with the cracking some guy's helmet.
Oh yeah,
video,
like
that
actually
one
just
was
like
big.
that's what's crazy. But everything's safe for a reason. Like we have other fail safes under the armor. You have something called a gambazin, which is like basically a quilted jacket.
yeah,
under that.
I wore it.
Oh yeah, you did nice. So you already know for the viewers and everybody.
Again,
That's
I
what-
just that's sort of thing I like is the learning your armor because it is important. And and everyone in that community is so generous because I know they're like, if you want to borrow it and like come out and see what it's like wearing full armor,
yeah.
because that stuff can get really expensive.
It
'cause
very
you
much so
literally
can.
have to have an armorer.
You have to have
So-
an armor, like most kits. I mean, I got lucky back in the day before the Ukrainian and Russia war because a lot of the Ukrainians and Russians made a lot of our armor.
Really?
Yes, like kid you not.
That's crazy.
Which was crazy because when that started happening, we knew so many armorers that were Ukrainian. They're like, hey, we're not selling stuff anymore because we're building giant tank hedgehogs like traps, like legit. Like it was the closest thing ever. We're like, oh, that sucks. We're sorry. But the armor that you have, like titanium, my kit was like $2,500.
Yeah.
But that's just without the helmet, without the gauntlets. Gauntlets can cost anywhere from like $800 to $1,000. Helmets are like $600.
And
all the
people
way
need
to
to be able to
$2,000.
see. Again, this sport is you got to see it to believe it.
Oh, you have to. You have
And
to
that's
see
what's
it.
amazing about it. And I want to remind folks that the tickets are available. It's tomorrow, and you can watch some MMA. How long is the event usually?
It's normally the doors open at 7, I believe, and it goes to about 10:30 or
Yeah.
11. Unless you have a couple of knockouts, because sometimes you'll be like, "And it's supposed to be another person's out."
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of MMA.
Yeah.
Doors open at 6, I think. I think it
Is
starts
doors,
at 7.
oh yeah, doors open. Thanks.
Well,
UFC.
we
That's where you get that.
have the link. People can see it.
No, it's
Yeah.
good, but doors open at 6, so you can actually see me early. I'm not fighting this time, so you guys can come and hang out, talk. We have some merch. We'll be selling little helmets like tchotchkes that you can take back. Then the fights start at 7, and then you get to talk to other people. We have an intermission. It's a really good show, but it's all like these are athletes. These are people actually putting their lives on the line. I mean, no one will die, knock on wood, but you can still have injuries that are life-changing.
I feel it's funny. When I was watching like the 10-on-10 stuff, I was like, I wonder how many injuries there are, and I wonder the percentage of those were self-inflicted. Because you're walking around in 80 pounds of armor, and then some guy hits you, and you're off balance, and it's just like,
you're like, whoa,
yeah, I just tore my ACL, and it's like, because I literally have 80 pounds of armor on me.
Yeah.
And momentum can be a real pain in the butt. And,
Very much so.
But but then again, that's part of the sport. I mean, that's kind of like any type of fighting. Come on, let's be real. Any combat sport.
Anyone, like football. Like the injuries they get out of not having armor and still the same.
Well, that's one thing I love. Like I like watching football, but one thing that made it, I had a lot of friends that went to play college football, and the amount of injuries that you never saw, because it'd be like the next day. They were like, "Oh, I dislocated my pinky or something." Like I didn't really even know, and then it's
or I was just fighting on it. You're like, "Oh, I did have a ligament torn."
Yeah,
or I did
like,
have this stuff.
But
I finished the game.
And I'm guessing you work out a lot.
I try to.
Yeah.
I mean, well, now like I said, I work at the gym, so I'm doing classes every day. We have 2 classes from 6 to 8. We have like weapons classes. We're talking about melee. We used to have a judo class, but my judo skills are kind of So we have more of a pro fight class where I talk about fight theory, which you're working on, those punches, teeps, adding.
And that's in Nashville.
Yes, that's in Nashville.
Nashville.
Yeah, and like with Houston, Texas, with the San Jacinto Knights. I don't know what time their schedule is. But
Me either. I just see their videos, and there's like, can you imagine that's how people work out? Because it's not a normal gym.
No, it's not at all. My folks, when I moved up there,
I love
talked a lot. They're like, "Well, you're gonna go train." I used to be a personal trainer for a while, which still helped. They're like, "Oh yeah, so we train." I'm like, "No, I'm training like sword fighting, Mom." And she's like, "Wait, what? Like the thing
what?
you do?"
People
like,
do that?
Like people actually, there's a whole gym dedicated. I'm like, yeah. And I'm actually pretty good at it, Mom. Thanks. But she's like, "Oh, well, good. I'm glad that your sword stuff is working out now." I'm like, "Thanks."
There's a lot of sword sports. Dallas, I'm up from Dallas, and at Warlord, they have several different fencing styles. There's a lot of sword sports, I think, in Dallas, but that's something I didn't even know. There was like early German or early Italian, different styles
I believe
of
it.
fencing. So,
But we're talking about MMA, armored MMA.
But the stuff does cross over, and that's what I do like about with the schools. And for me, I've wanted to set up be like the Bruce Lee of swords. So I've done some stunts. I've worked with the people on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I haven't been on Game of Thrones, but I've trained with the people that have. And then to learn how to fight in a movie, and then learn how to fight in MMA.
Yeah, it's different.
Are completely different things.
Oh, yeah.
But it's nice because my dream was to just do the Ronda Rousey approach, become a champion, or at least close enough. And then they're like, "Hey, can you act? Hey,
I'm like,
can
heck
you
yeah,
sing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can sing. I can do whatever you need. Like, just please pay me."
No,
but
I mean,
that's what you try to do, and it's fun. And the historical aspect, actually taking that back to old times. I think there was a TikTok going around. They're like, "How much do you think my armor costs in old times?" And people are like, "I don't know, 10,000 or what would have been." I think it ended up being the equivalent of like a couple million or something for like a Duke's level of armor.
I wouldn't doubt it. Well, I mean, that's why you have that. Back then, it wasn't really like a job. It was just like that was your life. Your armor. That's all you do. So you make everything from nails to like actual armor,
swords, and then you have people that would protect you, your liege lords.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, Baron, what's their face doesn't like us so much anymore. They're gonna try to take over our land. So I hope Duke so and so will protect us." And
let's hope.
Yeah. And then archery, and we won't go to that.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part about it. But then with armored MMA, we actually get to do what some of the foot level or footman fighting would be.
Yeah.
Because you're armored, so you're not going to be able to just stab a person. And there is no stabbing in this sport in general because we do have perf plate and things could happen.
It's one thing I learned. There is no forward motion, or not forward. There is a forward motion.
There's forward swing. Yeah.
But there's no
stabs. And that's the difference with MC was talking about with fencing. Some of those people wear they wear fencing kits where they do have stabs and thrusts. And that's why some of the fights end really quick. But even if you're in full armor, you would have to, like I said, take out a dagger, get into the armpit, stab somebody in the junk, under the neck. But that's why we don't want that, because this is an actual sport and you want the longevity, just like how in MMA there's some strikes that are illegal.
This isn't to the death.
No. But people say in the comments, they're like, "I think this is unrealistic because they're..." I'm like, "Shush, get in the ring."
You never got hit in the face with a blunt instrument while wearing 80 pounds of armor.
Oh, it still sucks.
It still sucks.
Yeah. you're just like, I'm not bleeding, but it can still be percussive, like that axe there.
Yeah.
That sucks it.
No, actually, look, answer me that about the weapons. So do you have different classes for the MMA, armored MMA? So do you have sword versus sword, or can it be a sword versus axe?
Sometimes we do exhibitions. Like, I think Mickey and I want to do like a longsword one, because normally you don't do longsword fights, because for it to be high level, there's a lot of cardio, there's a lot of movement, and you don't want
First 30 seconds, they're like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah. People. So there's this whole level of sniping, and then we try to add some theatrics, but it's not choreographed, but it's just fun to do. Like, John Jones do a spinning back fist. Like, is that the most practical? No, but if it lands, that sucks for the other guy.
Yeah.
But then the weapons, like, we try to match weapons, but shield and sword, shield and buckler. We keep those together.
Yeah, I was curious because there's so many variations of medieval combat sports. So it's like, all right, how organized does it need to be, or that kind of stuff. So that's kind of exciting. So when people can look it up, can people look at the link and they'll see?
People can look at the link. They can also look at AMMA.com. I believe we have their website, where it shows how to get started. It shows where you can go to get armor if you want to this point.
Oh, cool.
It shows even kind of like a night finder, where what places are in your area. And I'm actually working on a website myself called Sword Sanctuary that will have all the disciplines that we're talking about with MC, where it talks about fencing, talks about some LARPs, it talks about lightsabers. I don't care what historical, but then it'll have the main focus is still AMMA, armored combat, because that's what we're trying to train more people for. But they're all fun. And I have people that just would kick my butt, but they'd like to do foam stuff because it's cheaper.
Well, that's what it's funny you mentioned lightsabers.
Yeah.
I was reading the other day. It's like they actually, the nerds of Star Wars went into like different fighting styles, and I was like, it's just a movie. Like, they never talked about the different fighting styles.
They like touched on them. And then in the books they have a little bit.
Yeah.
And people have made their own styles, and we talk about with Italian, with German, which I actually teach historical African martial arts myself too.
Yeah?
I specify in Egyptian and Ethiopian, because Africa's a giant continent. There's so many countries, but that's why I actually teach a lot. So there's all these different styles, and the Star Wars nerds just like, well, Form 7 would beat this one, and people show it, and people love it. They eat it up.
Yeah,
I think sometimes.
But it's just weird because like it's just a movie. They never really said anything about this.
Yeah.
They were just kind of fighting.
Yeah.
But then when they have this huge encyclopedia of it, I go, where did this come from? Like,
All
did
the
someone
books.
just make this up? Like,
yes and no. Like, all the books that came out, and some things that got.
yeah, but those are. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Oh no, I was.
But when people say like, "Oh, you haven't read the books," I'm like, that's just fan fiction.
Yeah.
But at a professional level, y'all know that, right? I mean, that's
what Lucas talked about. Yeah, and it's true. And I actually went to the 2025 Star Wars anniversary in Japan recently.
Yeah.
And I was doing some content for a friend. I was videography and it was just wild to see all the people, and Star Wars is its own religion.
Oh yeah, but again, it's just fan fiction at the highest level. Like, it's not like George Lucas wrote the books.
Yeah, no, he
probably
waved off
approved
on them
it or something. But
and
again,
then they nuked it. So,
and then they made this terrible movie. The recent one, terrible.
It's so much. And then as a stunt person, I teach some like stunt groups, and they're like, well, we want to get into choreography. I'm like, okay, let's work on a choreography. Like, well, I want to do this. I'm like, no, there's no ad-libbing this part. You go through it. Sometimes there's some magical stuff that happens, but you stick to the script. That's what it's working on, and that's what a lot of people at the amateur level don't get. Because like, well, I just want to do this, and well, then you practice for it, and you practice for it weeks and weeks and weeks, and you go through it.
But it's also training the body to, it's like memory muscle. Because you can get somebody like, I just want to get in the cage, and like, well, this guy clearly has been practicing.
Yeah.
This guy just wants to swing something around.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those cool things. But I also I have to ask, what's your favorite medieval period movie?
Oh man, that's so hard. Because what was the one? They have a director's cut.
Kingdom of Heaven.
Kingdom of Heaven.
Python.
Was that?
The Monty Python.
Monty Python. I ran that one to the ground. I remember watching that VHS, and I watched it like 3 times in a row, and then I went back to watch it again.
That's
my mom's
great.
like, I'm like, where'd it go? She's like, I don't know. Like, she just hid it from me. She's like,
That's
I don't
true.
know.
That's true.
But I think Kingdom of Heaven has a lot of cool depictions to it.
Yeah, isn't it weird how the director's cut is like 14 times better?
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's so much better. And
Yeah.
from a historical standpoint, it's fun. But honestly, too, Game of Thrones has been really cool once they got past.
Yeah, it's
the
more
shock and awe.
fantasy though.
It is. It's not historical.
Yeah.
But I still love like, the art scene they went with that, and
Yeah.
some of the armors. But I think historical Kingdom of Heaven's pretty darn awesome. And then also with the name like simply_samurai for my Instagram. Honestly, the new Shogun, what they did for
That
the
was pretty
TV series,
cool.
really good. And I was so mad when I went to Japan recently. I didn't have time to make content for myself. I was like in and out. I was there for a week, and there's so many temples, so many different castles. I would love to do so many other things there.
Oh, that's
Just highlight
cool.
that.
Yeah, I'm gonna put links to y'all social medias
you,
and
thank
stuff like that. So, folks, if you're just now joining us, I'm talking to Spencer and MC. We're talking about Armored MMA that's happening in Houston. You can see live combat fighting in the cage tomorrow. Gates open at 6. And then anything else y'all want to talk about?
I mean, honestly, I know MC has some things working on. Like, what did you think when you first stumbled upon Armored Combat in general? I believe, was it Sarah, our friend of ours, that started pulling you into it, or did you see it beforehand?
Well, I found out about that doing work up at Warlord for Sambo and Judo. So I work in MMA generally and came from MMA to the AMMA. So I found out about it through there, and one of the guys I work with, Taylor Weber, out of Fort Worth, Dallas area, he, big in Sambo, big in Judo, and we had noticed working with, he's got, he teaches and coaches Judo for Warlord and that team and some of the guys up there, and we were able to see that, Judo works really well. There's a lot of takedowns in Armored MMA. A lot of those same throws work. So from there, worked in Europe with some of the groups, worked in Warlord, and then kind of got in through it that way. And then, ran into Sarah because we were, along with MMA content, doing that, the Boo-Herd or Armored Combat content is how I got into that. Found Sarah, who we're working on a podcast together, working on some content. She's not here this weekend, but she'll be around. Sarah Strange. And so that's, I think, my first reaction, my first take to it was probably the same as anyone is, whoa, there's swords and helmets and metal all over the place. And they got the actual, what do you call it, the workroom, the metal room?
Oh, it's just like a blacksmith shop. Or
Yeah,
just
that whole,
armory or anything.
Yeah, there's metal scraps, and stuff like that. Someone's got, a metal in their shoe, sometimes you got to be careful with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's, all... it blew my mind. I was like, okay, this is real, this is cool. And then, from there, it's very different than MMA, where a lot of MMA where you've got a one-on-one. There's a lot of circling when you're working with one-on-one, but some of the 5-on-5 sometimes that we were talking about, now you've got multiple people in multiple directions of, someone's going to come up behind you, chaos everywhere, and how you plan for that, or how do you strategize and run a team when you've got 5 guys on 5 guys is a little bit different. So
yeah,
real cool.
Well, that's one thing I like too. It's kind of if you're into it, it's universal. So you can be this weekend doing MMA, Armored MMA, and then the following weekend you can do the traditional Armor Combat, and then if you want to get a job, you just go to TRF and get hired over there.
I mean, legitimately, yes.
Yeah.
And now with TRF, because I know Grant the Knight does a lot of stuff too. When they're doing that between the NASCAR shows, and that's how he blew up to 65,000 followers, and just doing the fighting at the Ren Fair, and it was just cool to get people into that. And then you might find someone that becomes the next world champion, or someone's like, I want to train to the next level. Yeah. So it's all about getting that.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. We're going to get back to the music here on Mornings of the Lone Star. And all the links for Armored MMA, for Spencer, for MC, down below, or check out our social media. We're going to get back to the regular scheduled programming here on Lone Star Community Radio.
Thank you so much, friend.